The champagne flute in James, my sister's husband's hand shattered as it hit the floor. Just like mine had, all those months ago when this all began. Chaos erupted. James stumbled backward, away from my sister Linda, his face a portrait of devastation. Linda reached for him, tears streaming down her face, her wedding dress suddenly looking like a costume she had no right to wear. James, please, let me explain. Explain? His voice cracked. Explain what? That you slept with your sister's husband? That you're carrying a baby that might not be mine? Darren, my husband pushed through the crowd, trying to reach, who? Me? Linda? He seemed torn between the two of us, frozen in the middle of the dance floor like an actor who'd forgotten his lines. Is it true? James demanded, grabbing Darren by the lapels. Did you sleep with my wife? Darren's silence was answer enough. James's fist connected with Darren's jaw with a crack that echoed through the ballroom. Darren went down hard, blood streaming from his nose onto the pristine white floor. James, no. Linda screamed, but James was already walking away, pushing through the crowd of stunned guests. My parents stood frozen, my mother's hand over her mouth, my father's face purple with rage. The photographer was still taking pictures, documenting every moment of this disaster. The band had stopped playing, instruments hanging uselessly in their hands. My name is Grace, and this is the story of how I brought down the two people I loved most in the world, using nothing but the truth they thought I'd never discover. Before we continue, please write in the comment which country you are watching this video. We love knowing where our global family is tuning in from, and if this is your first time on this channel, please subscribe, it helps support our channel. Enjoy listening. 7 months before my sister's wedding, I thought I had everything. A beautiful colonial house with white shutters and a wraparound porch. A successful career as a pediatric nurse. And most importantly, a husband who still made my heart skip after 8 years of marriage. Darren was the kind of man other women noticed. Tall, with sandy brown hair that fell perfectly across his forehead, and green eyes that crinkled when he smiled. He had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room when he looked at you. At least, he used to look at me that way. Morning, beautiful, he'd say every day, kissing my forehead before heading to his law firm downtown. We had our routines, our inside jokes, our Thursday night wine and movie tradition. From the outside, we were the couple everyone envied. But perfect facades crack under pressure, and ours had been developing hairline fractures for months. It started small. Working late became working weekends. Date nights got cancelled for client dinners. His phone, which used to lie carelessly on counters, suddenly required a passcode. When I asked about it, he laughed it off. New firm policy, he said, waving his hand dismissively. Confidential client information and all that. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? This was Darren. My Darren. The man who held my hair back through food poisoning on our honeymoon. Who cried harder than me when we lost our first pregnancy. Who promised me, standing in the rain after a stupid fight about dishes, that he would never be the kind of man who hurt the woman he loved. Promises, I would learn, are just pretty words people say when they still believe their own lies. My younger sister Linda was everything I wasn't. Where I was steady and predictable, she was wild and spontaneous. I had brown hair that I kept in a sensible bob, she had flowing blonde waves that looked like she'd stepped out of a shampoo commercial. I became a nurse to help people, she became an Instagram influencer because she liked taking pictures of herself. Despite our differences, we were close. Sunday brunches at our parents' house, shopping trips where she'd try to convince me to buy something less boring, late-night phone calls when one of us couldn't sleep. You got the brains, I got the beauty, she'd joke, though we both knew she was smart too. Smart in ways that I was only beginning to understand. When Linda announced her engagement to James, a tech entrepreneur she'd been dating for 2 years, I was genuinely happy for her. James was good for her, stable, devoted, the kind of man who grounded her flighty tendencies without dimming her spark. I want you to be my maid of honor, she said, bouncing on my couch like an excited child. And Darren will be a groomsman. It'll be perfect. Perfect. That word again. I was starting to hate how often people used it. The wedding planning consumed our lives. Dress fittings, cake tastings, venue tours. Darren complained about having to get fitted for his tux, but he went along with it, charming the seamstress with his easy smile. "Your husband is such a catch," Linda said one afternoon as we looked through flower arrangements. "James is wonderful, but Darren, he's got that whole sophisticated lawyer thing going on." Something flickered in her eyes when she said it. Just for a second. Like a shadow passing over the sun. I told myself I was imagining things. I was very good at telling myself comfortable lies back then. The first time I really noticed something was wrong was at Linda's engagement party. It was a garden party at our parents' house, fairy lights strung between the trees, champagne flowing freely. I was in the kitchen, refilling the cheese platter, when I heard them on the back porch. Darren's laugh, low and intimate, the kind he used to reserve for me. And Linda's giggle, breathy and flirtatious. "You can't say things like that," she was saying. "Why not?" "It's true," Darren replied. I stepped onto the porch, the cheese platter balanced in my hands. They were standing too close, the space between them charged with something I didn't want to name. "There you are," I said, my voice bright and false. "People are looking for the bride-to-be." They stepped apart so quickly it was almost comical. "Almost. Just getting some air," Linda said, not meeting my eyes. "Darren was telling me about that case he won last week." "The Brett case?" I asked, looking at my husband. "I thought that was confidential." Darren's smile didn't waver. "Just the boring parts. Nothing classified." They went back inside, leaving me alone on the porch with the cheese platter and a sick feeling in my stomach. I stood there for a long moment, watching the fairy lights twinkle, telling myself I was being paranoid. But the mind has a way of collecting evidence, even when the heart doesn't want to see it. Over the next few months, the evidence piled up like fallen leaves. Small things that meant nothing individually but together painted a picture I didn't want to see. Darren started going to the gym at odd hours. "Less crowded," he explained. Linda suddenly developed an interest in legal dramas. "Just trying to understand what James deals with at work," she said, though James worked in tech, not law. They both happened to be too busy for Sunday brunch on the same weekends. Text messages that made Darren smile in a way my messages hadn't in months. Linda wearing a new perfume that smelled familiar, though I couldn't place where I'd smelled it before. I started paying attention in ways I never had before. Checking Darren's credit card statements, nothing suspicious, he was too smart for that. Watching their body language at family dinners, careful, controlled, like actors who'd rehearsed their parts. "You're being weird," my mother said one Sunday, catching me staring at Darren and Linda as they looked at wedding cake designs. "Is everything okay?" "Everything's perfect," I said, hating that word more with each passing day. My mother patted my hand. "Wedding planning is stressful for everyone. Just remember, Linda needs you right now. Being a bride is overwhelming." I smiled and nodded, playing my part as the supportive sister. But inside, something dark was taking root. Not quite suspicion yet, but the fertile ground where suspicion grows. 3 weeks before the wedding, I was at my annual checkup when I ran into Dr. Patricia Morse in the hospital corridor. Patricia had been Linda's gynecologist since college, and we'd become friendly over the years. "Grace," she said warmly. "How's the wedding planning going?" "Linda must be so excited." "She's over the moon," I replied. "Though between you and me, I'll be glad when it's over. I'm exhausted." Patricia laughed. "I bet. These big weddings are such productions." She paused, then lowered her voice. "I probably shouldn't say this, but make sure she takes it easy. First trimester and all that." The world tilted. "First trimester?" I repeated faintly. Patricia's face went white. "Oh God. She hasn't told you?" I assumed. I mean, with the wedding so close, I thought the family knew. Of course, I said, forcing a smile. I just didn't know you knew. You know how private Linda can be about these things. Right, yes. Patricia looked relieved. Well, I should go. Give her my best. She hurried away, leaving me standing in the sterile hospital corridor with my world crumbling around me. Linda was pregnant. My sister was pregnant, and she hadn't told me. But that wasn't what made my blood run cold. It was the timeline. If she was in her first trimester now, 3 weeks before the wedding. I did the math. Once. Twice. 3 times. The engagement party. That night on the porch with Darren. No. No, I was being crazy. James was the father. Of course James was the father. But why hadn't she told me? Unless I became a detective in my own life. Not the clumsy kind who leaves evidence of their snooping, but the careful kind who covers their tracks. I started with Darren's home office. He kept it locked, attorney-client privilege, he said, but I'd had a key made years ago when he'd lost his. He didn't know I still had it. His computer was password protected, but Darren wasn't as clever as he thought. His password was our anniversary date. How romantic. How stupid. I found nothing in his emails. His browser history was clean. But then I remembered something from a true crime podcast: people always forget about the cloud. His photos were backed up automatically. Thousands of them. Work events, client dinners, family gatherings. I scrolled through them methodically, not sure what I was looking for until I found it. A folder marked legal research. Inside were photos that had nothing to do with law. Linda at the beach, her hair whipping in the wind. A selfie of them at what looked like a hotel bar. Her hand on his chest, his arm around her waist. Photo after photo of moments that shouldn't have existed. But it was the last photo that broke me. A pregnancy test. Positive. Dated 2 weeks after the engagement party. The timestamp showed it was taken in our bedroom. In our home. On our bed. I stared at that photo until my eyes burned, until the image was seared into my brain. Then I carefully closed everything, cleared the browser history, and locked the office door behind me. I made it to the bathroom just in time to vomit. The next 2 weeks required the greatest performance of my life. I smiled at breakfast. Kissed Darren goodbye. Helped Linda with last-minute wedding preparations. Attended the rehearsal dinner. Gave a touching speech about love and loyalty. Grace is the best sister anyone could ask for, Linda said, hugging me after my speech. I'm so lucky to have you. I hugged her back, feeling the slight swell of her stomach against mine. A baby. My husband's baby growing inside my sister. How are you feeling? I asked carefully. Any pre-wedding jitters? Nausea? She pulled back, eyes wide. Why would you ask about nausea? Just wondering. Lots of brides get nervous stomachs. Oh. Right. No, I'm fine. Perfect, actually. Perfect. There was that word again. Darren found me on the hotel balcony later that night, after everyone else had gone to bed. Beautiful speech, he said, handing me a glass of wine. Did you think so? Made me fall in love with you all over again. He kissed my temple, and I fought not to flinch. I know things have been distant between us lately. Work's been crazy. But after this wedding, let's take a vacation. Just the 2 of us. Start fresh. That sounds nice, I said, sipping the wine. It tasted like ashes. He put his arm around me, and we stood there looking at the city lights. The perfect couple having a perfect moment. I wondered if he could feel the rage radiating from my skin. If he could sense the storm building inside me. But no, Darren saw what he wanted to see. He always had. I love you, he said. I know, I replied. It was the last honest thing I would say to him. The morning of the wedding dawned bright and clear. Perfect weather for a perfect day. I helped Linda into her dress, a stunning mermaid-style gown that would hide her pregnancy for a few more weeks. Her something old was our grandmother's pearl necklace. Her something new was the life growing inside her. Her something borrowed was my husband. Her something blue was the garter James had picked out. "You look beautiful," I told her, because it was true and because it was what sisters say. "I'm so happy," she said, tears threatening her carefully applied makeup. "Everything is exactly how I dreamed it would be." "Is it?" I asked, adjusting her veil. "Everything you dreamed of?" Something flickered across her face. "Of course. Why would you ask that?" "No reason. Just making sure my baby sister is getting everything she deserves." She hugged me then, careful not to wrinkle her dress. "I love you, Grace." "I love you too," I said. And despite everything, I meant it. That was the worst part. I still loved them both, even as I planned their destruction. The photographer burst in then, wanting photos of the bridal party getting ready. I smiled and posed, the devoted sister, while inside I counted down the hours until the reception. Until my moment. The ceremony was held in a historic church downtown, all stained glass and soaring ceilings. 300 guests packed the pews, a sea of pastel dresses and dark suits. I walked down the aisle first, clutching my bouquet of white roses and baby's breath. Darren was already at the altar with the other groomsmen, looking handsome in his black tux. He winked at me as I took my place. The music changed, and everyone stood for Linda's entrance. She was radiant, glowing in a way that had nothing to do with the professional makeup. James watched her approach with tears in his eyes, this good man who had no idea what was growing inside his bride. "Dearly beloved," the minister began, and I let the words wash over me. "Love. Honor. Cherish. Forsake all others." I watched Darren during that last part. He was staring at Linda with an expression I recognized. It was the way he used to look at me. When it came time for the rings, James's hand shook slightly as he slipped the band onto Linda's finger. Her hands were steady as stone. "You may kiss the bride," the minister announced, and the church erupted in applause. I clapped too, my smile never wavering. The happy sister. The devoted wife. The woman with dynamite strapped to her chest, waiting for the right moment to pull the pin. The reception was held at the Riverside Country Club, an elegant venue with crystal chandeliers and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the water. No expense had been spared. Ice sculptures, a 10-piece band, flowers on every surface. Darren and I were seated at the head table with the rest of the wedding party. He kept touching me, hand on my back, fingers brushing mine, little gestures of affection that would have thrilled me 6 months ago. Now they made my skin crawl. "You look beautiful tonight," he murmured during the salad course. "Do I?" I asked. "As beautiful as the bride?" He laughed, missing the edge in my voice. "No one's as beautiful as the bride on her wedding day. That's the rule." "Ah yes. The rules. You've always been so good at following those." He gave me a strange look but was distracted by the best man starting his speech. The speeches went on forever. Funny stories about James and Linda. Wishes for their future happiness. Jokes about babies and growing old together. I noticed Linda's hand drift to her stomach during that last part. Then it was my turn. I stood, tapping my champagne flute with a spoon. The room quieted, hundreds of eyes turning to me. "Good evening, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Grace, Linda's older sister and maid of honor." Polite applause. I waited for it to die down. Linda and I have been through everything together. Childhood adventures, teenage heartbreaks, adult challenges. I've watched her grow from a wild little girl who used to steal my Halloween candy into the beautiful woman standing before us today. Linda smiled at me, tears already forming. If only she knew. When she first introduced us to James, I knew he was special. The way he looked at her, the way he made her laugh, the way he brought out the best in her while loving her exactly as she was. That's rare in this world. That kind of pure, honest love. I paused, letting the words sink in. James was beaming. Darren was watching me with pride. Linda was dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. But the thing about love, I continued, my voice steady, is that it requires trust. Complete, absolute trust. The kind where you can share your deepest secrets, your biggest fears, your most precious dreams. The room was silent now, hanging on every word. Linda has always been good at keeping secrets, I said, smiling at my sister. Even as a little girl, she could keep a secret better than anyone I knew. Some might say too good. A nervous laugh rippled through the crowd. Linda's smile faltered slightly. But tonight, as we celebrate this union, I want to toast not to secrets, but to truth. To honesty. To the courage it takes to build a life with someone based on complete transparency. I raised my glass. So here's to James and Linda. May your marriage be built on a foundation of truth. May you never have secrets between you. And may you always remember that the people who love you most deserve your honesty, even when it's hard. The crowd raised their glasses. I sat down, my heart pounding. That was just the warm-up. The real show would come later. Darren leaned over and kissed my cheek. Beautiful speech, baby. You always know just what to say. I learned from the best, I replied, squeezing his hand hard enough to hurt. The band struck up the first dance song, and James led Linda onto the floor. They swayed together under the twinkling lights, the picture of newlywed bliss. The photographer circled them, capturing every moment. They look happy, Darren said, his breath warm against my ear. Looks can be deceiving, I replied. After the traditional dances, the floor opened to all guests. Darren pulled me up, insisting we dance. I meant what I said earlier, he murmured as we moved together. About the vacation. Maybe Hawaii? Or Paris? Wherever you want to go. Somewhere far away? I asked. Somewhere we can pretend to be different people? He frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. I'm just tired. Wedding stress. The wedding's over now, he pointed out. You can relax. Oh, Darren, I said, looking up at him. It's just beginning. Before he could ask what I meant, someone tapped his shoulder. Linda stood there, radiant in her wedding gown. Mind if I steal him for a dance? She asked. I want to dance with all my favorite people tonight. The irony was so thick I could choke on it. Of course, I said, stepping back. I need to powder my nose anyway. I watched them move onto the dance floor, maintaining a careful distance between their bodies. To anyone watching, it was innocent. A bride dancing with her brother-in-law. Nothing to see here. But I saw the way his hand trembled on her waist. The way she bit her lip when he whispered something. The way they both glanced around to see if anyone was watching. I was watching. I was always watching now. I didn't actually go to the bathroom. Instead, I went to the bar and ordered a shot of whiskey. Then another. I needed liquid courage for what came next. Rough night? The bartender asked sympathetically. You have no idea, I said, downing the second shot. I felt a hand on my shoulder and turned to find my mother, resplendent in navy blue. Darling, are you all right? You seem tense. Just emotional, I said. My baby sister is married. I know. It seems like yesterday she was running around in pigtails. Mom's eyes misted. At least we'll have grandchildren to look forward to soon. The whiskey burned in my stomach. Sooner than you think. What? Nothing. Just agreeing with you. Mom studied me with the laser focus only mothers possess. Grace, what's wrong? And don't say nothing. I know my girls. For a moment, I wanted to tell her everything. To collapse in her arms like I had as a child and let her fix it. But some things couldn't be fixed. They could only be burned to the ground. I'm fine, Mom. Really? Just overwhelmed. She didn't look convinced but let it go. Well, try to enjoy yourself. It's a happy day. After she left, I ordered one more shot. For courage. For strength. For the ability to do what needed to be done. The music had shifted to something slow and romantic. Couples swayed on the dance floor, lost in their own worlds. I spotted Darren back at our table, checking his phone. Probably deleting messages. He'd gotten sloppy lately, but not that sloppy. It was almost time. The band leader tapped the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, the bride and groom would like to share a special announcement. James and Linda made their way to the small stage, hands clasped. Linda was glowing, and not just from the spotlight. We weren't going to say anything tonight, James began, his voice thick with emotion. But we're too happy to keep it to ourselves. The room held its breath. I held mine too, but for different reasons. We're having a baby. Linda announced, and the room exploded in cheers and applause. I watched Darren's face carefully. He was clapping and smiling, but there was something else there. A tightness around his eyes. A muscle jumping in his jaw. Was it jealousy? Regret? Fear? My parents rushed the stage, embracing the happy couple. Other relatives followed. I stayed in my seat, waiting. Aren't you going to congratulate them? Darren asked. In a moment, I said. I want to let the grandparents have their moment. The truth was, I was counting. Watching people's faces. Seeing who looked surprised and who didn't. Making mental notes of every reaction. Finally, when the initial chaos died down, I made my way to the stage. Linda saw me coming and reached out her arms. Grace! Can you believe it? You're going to be an aunt. I hugged her tightly, feeling the slight tremor in her body. Congratulations, I whispered in her ear. How far along are you? 8 weeks, she whispered back. We just found out for sure last week. 8 weeks. I'd done the math so many times I could recite it in my sleep. 8 weeks ago was 2 weeks after the engagement party. The night I'd found them on the porch. That's wonderful, I said, pulling back to look at her face. James must be over the moon. He is. He's already planning the nursery. Sweet, innocent James. Planning a nursery for a baby that might not be his. When did you find out? I asked, keeping my voice light. About 2 weeks ago. I wanted to tell you, but with the wedding and everything. Of course, I said. It's your news to share when you're ready. Darren appeared at my elbow. Congratulations, Linda. James. This is wonderful news. His voice was perfectly calibrated. Happy but not too happy. Surprised but not shocked. He'd missed his calling as an actor. Thanks, Darren, James said, pumping his hand enthusiastically. Maybe you and Grace will be next. The silence that followed was deafening. At least to me. Maybe, Darren said finally. When the time is right. I excused myself then, claiming I needed air. But I didn't go outside. I went to the bridal suite where Linda's things were stored. Where her phone was charging on the dresser. I knew her passcode. Sisters share everything, remember? Everything except the things that matter most. Linda's phone was a treasure trove of secrets. She'd been careful, no texts to Darren, no obvious evidence. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd kept the photos. Hidden in a locked folder, buried in her camera roll. Photos from that night 2 weeks after the engagement party. The night the baby was conceived. They were in a hotel room. The Marriott downtown, judging by the bedding. Champagne on the nightstand. Her wedding planning binder open on the desk, she'd told me she was meeting with the florist that night. But the most damning photo was a selfie. Both of them in bed, sheets pulled up to their chests, her head on his shoulder. The timestamp read 11:47 p.m. At 11:52 p.m., Darren had texted me that he was leaving the office and heading home. At 12:15 a.m., he'd climbed into our bed, smelling like hotel soap instead of his usual body wash. I'd noticed but hadn't said anything. Hadn't wanted to be the nagging wife who questioned everything. I forwarded the photos to myself, then deleted the evidence of what I'd done. My hands were steady as I placed the phone back exactly where I'd found it. The door opened, and I spun around. It was one of Linda's bridesmaids, looking for her purse. "Oh. Grace. You scared me." "Sorry," I said smoothly. "Just needed a moment of quiet. It's so loud out there." "I know, right? But isn't it wonderful about the baby? Linda's going to be such a great mom." "The best," I agreed, following her out of the room. The reception was in full swing when we returned. The cake had been cut, the bouquet tossed, the garter thrown. People were getting drunk and sloppy, ties loosened, high heels abandoned. Perfect. In chaos, there was opportunity. It was during the father-daughter dance that I knew it was time. Linda was dancing with our father, both of them crying happy tears. The photographer was capturing every moment. Most of the guests were watching, phones out to record the touching scene. I found Darren at the bar, ordering another scotch. "There you are," I said, sliding my arm through his. "I've been looking for you." "Just needed a refill," he said, holding up his glass. "Want one?" "No. I want to talk to you. Privately." Something in my tone must have alerted him because his eyes sharpened. "Now? During the reception?" "Now," I confirmed. "Unless you'd prefer I say what I need to say here, in front of everyone." His face paled. "Grace, what's going on?" "Outside," I said. "The terrace." 5 minutes. I walked away without waiting for his response. I knew he'd follow. Guilty people always follow when they think they're about to be exposed. The terrace was empty, most guests preferring the air-conditioned comfort of the ballroom. String lights created pools of golden light in the darkness. The river glittered in the distance. It was beautiful. Perfect for what was about to happen. Darren appeared exactly 5 minutes later, his face carefully composed. "What's this about?" he asked, trying for casual and missing by miles. I turned to face him, no longer bothering to hide my rage. "How long?" "How long what?" "Don't." My voice was sharp enough to cut glass. "Don't you dare stand there and pretend you don't know what I'm talking about. How long have you been fucking my sister?" The word hung between us like a blade. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "Grace, I don't know what you think." "I have photos," I interrupted. "From the hotel. From that night 8 weeks ago. The night you told me you were working late." His shoulders sagged. The fight went out of him all at once. "How did you?" "Does it matter? The question is, how long? Was it just that once? Or has this been going on longer?" He sat heavily on a stone bench, head in his hands. "It wasn't supposed to happen. But it did. The engagement party. We were both drunk. You were inside, and we were talking, and it just happened. And then it happened again 8 weeks ago. That was supposed to be the end of it. We agreed it was a mistake. That we'd never. Is the baby yours?" The question cracked like a whip. His head snapped up. "What? The baby. Is it yours?" I don't know. She said it was James's. The timing makes it possible either way," I said coldly. 8 weeks ago. 2 weeks after the engagement party. Right in that sweet spot where she can't be sure. "Grace, please. Let me explain." "Explain what?" "How you accidentally fell into bed with my sister. How you accidentally continued an affair while I helped plan her wedding to another man." How you accidentally might have fathered her child. It's not like that. Then tell me what it's like. I was shouting now, not caring who heard. Tell me how I'm supposed to understand this. I love you, he said desperately. I've always loved you. Linda was just. Just what? Different. Exciting. Wrong. He looked up at me with those green eyes I'd fallen in love with so many years ago. I knew it was wrong. That's what made it. God, I'm so fucked up. Yes, I agreed. You are. We stood there in silence, the party continuing inside, oblivious to the destruction happening on the terrace. What are you going to do? He asked finally. I smiled then. It wasn't a nice smile. I'm going to give my sister a wedding gift she'll never forget. I left Darren on the terrace and returned to the ballroom. The party was reaching its peak, dance floor packed, drinks flowing, inhibitions lowered. I found the band leader and slipped him $100 bill. I'd like to make one more toast, I said. To the happy couple. Of course. The maid of honor can toast whenever she wants. He announced me with a flourish, and once again, the room quieted. I took the microphone, my hands perfectly steady. I know I already gave a speech, I began, but with the wonderful news about the baby, I felt moved to say something more. Applause and cheers. I waited for quiet. You see, becoming a parent changes everything. It makes you see the world differently. Makes you understand the importance of truth, of honesty, of being the person your child can look up to. Linda was smiling at me from the head table, her hand on her stomach. James had his arm around her, protective and proud. And I think it's so beautiful that Linda and James are starting their family right away. Although. I paused, letting the word hang. I do have to wonder about the timing. The smile on Linda's face flickered. You see, 8 weeks ago, which, if my math is right, is when this little miracle was conceived, was such a busy time. Wedding planning, work obligations, secret meetings. Now the room was really quiet. That uncomfortable quiet when people sense something is wrong but can't quite place what. In fact, I remember that night 8 weeks ago very clearly. Linda, you had that late meeting with the florist, remember? The one at the Marriott downtown? All color drained from my sister's face. And Darren, you were working late that night too. What a coincidence that you both happened to be at the same hotel. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Darren appeared in the doorway, his face a mask of horror. But I'm sure it's nothing, I continued, my voice sweet as poison. Just a funny coincidence. Although. Another pause. It would explain why you've been so sick every morning, Linda. Morning sickness? Or just regular old guilt? Grace. My mother's voice cut through the stunned silence. What are you doing? I turned to look at her, then at the room full of shocked faces. I'm telling the truth, Mom. Something that seems to be in short supply in this family. James was on his feet now, looking between Linda and me. What is she talking about? Linda's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. No words came out. Tell him, Linda, I said. Tell your husband about that night 8 weeks ago. Tell him why you're not sure who the father of your baby is. The champagne flute in James's hand shattered as it hit the floor. Just like mine had, all those months ago when this all began. Chaos erupted. James stumbled backward, away from Linda, his face a portrait of devastation. Linda reached for him, tears streaming down her face, her wedding dress suddenly looking like a costume she had no right to wear. James, please, let me explain. Explain? His voice cracked. Explain what? That you slept with your sister's husband? That you're carrying a baby that might not be mine? Darren pushed through the crowd, trying to reach, who? Me? Linda? He seemed torn between the two of us, frozen in the middle of the dance floor like an actor who'd forgotten his lines. Is it true? James demanded, grabbing Darren by the lapels. Did you sleep with my wife? Darren's silence was answer enough. James's fist connected with Darren's jaw with a crack that echoed through the ballroom. Darren went down hard, blood streaming from his nose onto the pristine white floor. "James, no!" Linda screamed, but James was already walking away, pushing through the crowd of stunned guests. My parents stood frozen, my mother's hand over her mouth, my father's face purple with rage. The photographer was still taking pictures, documenting every moment of this disaster. The band had stopped playing, instruments hanging uselessly in their hands. "You destroyed everything," Linda sobbed, turning on me. "How could you do this?" "How could I?" I laughed, and it was an ugly sound. "How could you?" "My sister. My baby sister who I loved more than anything. You slept with my husband. It was a mistake. We were drunk, and it just happened." "Twice," I corrected. "At least twice that I know of." "How many other times, Linda? How many other nights did you tell me you were with vendors or friends while you were really with him?" She couldn't answer. That was answer enough. Darren had gotten to his feet, holding a napkin to his bloody nose. He tried to approach me, but I stepped back. "Grace, please. We need to talk about this." "Now you want to talk?" I laughed again. "After months of lies? After I gave you every opportunity to come clean? I wanted to tell you." "When? Before or after you got my sister pregnant?" The remaining guests were fleeing now, gathering purses and wraps, whispering among themselves. This would be the talk of the town for years. The wedding that ended in disaster. The scandal that destroyed 2 marriages in one night. Good. Let them talk. Let everyone know what kind of people Darren and Linda really were. My parents finally unfroze. My mother rushed to Linda, trying to comfort her, while my father stalked toward Darren with murder in his eyes. "You son of a bastard," he growled. "I welcomed you into my family. Trusted you with my daughter. Both your daughters, apparently," I added. My father's fist was faster than James's. Darren went down again, this time staying down. "Daddy, stop!" Linda cried. "This isn't helping." "Helping?" My father rounded on her. "You want to talk about helping? You betrayed your sister. You betrayed your husband. You betrayed this entire family. I didn't mean for it to happen. But you meant to hide it," I said quietly. "You meant to let James raise a baby that might not be his. You meant to smile in my face every day while keeping this secret. I was going to tell you." "When? At the baby's first birthday? When it came out with Darren's green eyes?" My mother was crying now, mascara running in black rivers down her cheeks. "Girls, please. We're family. We can work through this." "No," I said firmly. "We can't. Some things can't be fixed with a hug and a cup of tea, Mom." The ballroom was nearly empty now, just family and the shell-shocked wedding party remaining. The perfect wedding reduced to rubble in minutes. "What do you want?" Linda asked, her voice small and broken. "What do you want me to say?" "I want you to tell the truth. For once in your life, tell the whole truth." She looked at Darren, still on the floor, then at our parents, then finally at me. "I fell in love with him," she whispered. The words hit like physical blows. I tried not to. I knew it was wrong. But the way he looked at me, the way he made me feel. I'd never felt that with James. With anyone. "So you took him. Because you wanted him." "It wasn't like that. It's always like that with you." I exploded. "My toys, my clothes, my friends. You always had to have what was mine. But this time you went too far." "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry." "Sorry you did it? Or sorry you got caught?" She couldn't answer that either. Darren finally struggled to his feet, his tux ruined with blood. He looked pathetic, this man I'd once thought was everything. "We should go," he said quietly. Grace, please. Let's just go home and talk. Home? I stared at him. You think we have a home? You destroyed that the moment you touched her. I made a mistake. No. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is leaving the toilet seat up. This was a choice. Multiple choices. Every text, every meeting, every lie was a choice. I choose you, he said desperately. I choose our marriage. We can get through this. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want. What I want is a divorce. The word echoed in the empty ballroom. And I want you out of my house tonight. Take your things and go. I don't care where. Grace, be reasonable. Reasonable? I laughed. I've been reasonable for months. Reasonable when you worked late. Reasonable when you were distant. Reasonable when you smelled like her perfume. I'm done being reasonable. Linda stepped forward, her wedding dress dragging on the floor. What about the baby? What about it? If it's Darren's, then you'll figure it out. Just like you figured out how to seduce my husband. I'm sure you're very resourceful. You're being cruel, my mother said. No, I corrected. I'm being honest. Something this family apparently struggles with. I looked around the destroyed reception, overturned chairs, abandoned drinks, the wedding cake sitting untouched on its table. All that money, all that planning, for this. I'm leaving, I announced. Don't follow me. Any of you. I walked out with my head high, leaving the wreckage behind. But I wasn't done. Not yet. There was still one more truth to reveal. I drove home in my bridesmaid dress, the radio playing love songs I turned off with a vicious twist. The house was dark and empty, exactly how I felt inside. But I wasn't going to wallow. I was going to act. I went to Darren's office and began pulling files. Financial documents, bank statements, investment portfolios. 8 years of marriage had taught me where he kept everything. Then I called his managing partner at home. Grace? Harold sounded confused. Is everything all right? Shouldn't you be at the wedding? The wedding's over, I said calmly. And I thought you should know that Darren's been using the company credit card for personal expenses. Hotel rooms, specifically. For his affair. Silence on the other end. I have the statements, I continued. Dates, times, amounts. All charged to Miller and Associates. I'm sure the other partners will be very interested to see how he's been spending company money. Grace, I'm sure there's an explanation. There is. He's been sleeping with my sister and charging the hotel rooms to the firm. Would you like me to email you the evidence? Or should I bring it to the Monday partners meeting? Harold sighed heavily. Email it. I'll handle this internally. I thought you might. I hung up and smiled. Darren's career at Miller and Associates was over. Good luck explaining that to future employers. Next, I logged into Facebook. The wedding photos were already being posted by guests who'd left early. Beautiful shots of the ceremony, the first dance, the happy couple. I had photos too. I created a new album, The Truth About the Perfect Wedding. First, the screenshots from Linda's phone. The hotel selfie. The timestamp clearly visible. Then, the credit card statements showing the hotel charges. Finally, a photo I'd taken myself tonight, Darren's bloody face after James punched him, with the caption, "When the groom finds out his bride slept with her sister's husband." I tagged everyone. Every guest, every family member, every mutual friend. Then I hit share and watched the notifications explode. I woke up on the couch, still in my bridesmaid dress, to pounding on the door. My phone showed 47 missed calls and over 100 text messages. The pounding continued. Grace! Open the door. I know you're in there. Darren. Of course. I took my time getting up, smoothing my wrinkled dress, checking my smeared makeup in the hall mirror. Let him wait. When I finally opened the door, he looked worse than I felt. Still in his bloody tux, eyes red and swollen, reeking of alcohol. You ruined my life, he slurred. No, I corrected. You ruined your life. I just made sure everyone knew about it. Harold called. I'm suspended pending investigation. Do you know what this means? It means you should have thought twice before charging your affair to the company card. He swayed on his feet. I have nowhere to go. Not my problem. 8 years, he said, tears streaming down his face. 8 years, and you throw it all away over one mistake. 2 mistakes. At least 2. And you threw it away, not me. What about forgiveness? What about working through problems? What about not fucking my sister? I shot back. What about basic human decency? He flinched. I never meant to get caught. I know. I started to close the door, but he blocked it with his foot. The Facebook posts. You have to take them down. Why? They're just the truth. I thought you were a big fan of the truth. Attorney ethics and all that. This is defamation. Sue me, I said flatly. Oh wait. You'll need a lawyer for that. And money. Good luck with both after Harold gets through with you. I shoved his foot out of the way and slammed the door, turning the deadbolt with a satisfying click. He pounded for another few minutes before giving up. I watched from the window as he stumbled to his car, probably heading to a hotel. One he'd have to pay for himself this time. My phone rang. Linda. I let it go to voicemail. Then my mother. Voicemail. My father. I answered that one. Hi, Dad. Grace. His voice was tired, defeated. What have you done? What I had to do. The Facebook posts, the whole town is talking. Your mother is beside herself. And Linda? How's the blushing bride? He sighed. James left. Went to his parents' house. He's filing for annulment on Monday. Smart man. She's devastated. Good. Grace. No, Dad. Don't grace me. She made her choices. These are the consequences. And the baby? What about it? It's still your niece or nephew. Still family. Maybe. Or maybe it's my stepchild. Won't know until it's born, will we? This bitterness isn't like you. Neither is being cheated on by my husband and sister. Guess we're all trying new things. He was quiet for a long moment. Your mother wants to have a family meeting. To talk this through. There's nothing to talk about. Please, Grace. We're still family. No, I said firmly. Linda and I are related. That's not the same as family. Family doesn't do what she did. People make mistakes. And people face consequences. I'm done protecting her. Done pretending everything's fine. Done being the good daughter who keeps the peace. What about Darren? What about him? He's getting divorced and probably fired. Seems fair to me. This isn't you, my father said sadly. This vengeful person. This isn't who you are. Maybe it's who I've always been, I suggested. Maybe I just never had a reason to show it before. I hung up before he could respond. The house felt different now. Lighter somehow, despite the heavy furniture and dark memories. I walked through each room, seeing it with new eyes. This would be my house now. Mine alone. In the bedroom, I stripped the sheets and threw them in the trash. Ordered new ones online. Expensive ones that Darren would have called frivolous. In his office, I boxed up his things with clinical efficiency. Law books, diplomas, the photo of us on our wedding day. All of it went into boxes labeled cheater in thick black marker. By noon, I'd erased him from 3 rooms. By evening, the house felt almost clean again. Almost. 3 days later, I met my mother for coffee. She'd been calling nonstop, and I finally agreed just to stop the harassment. She looked like she'd aged 10 years. Her usually perfect hair was limp, her makeup minimal. The mother who'd always had everything together was falling apart. "You look terrible," I said, sitting down across from her. "Grace." Her voice was reproachful but weak. "Just being honest. Isn't that what we're doing now?" She stirred her coffee with shaking hands. "Your sister is staying with us." "How nice for her." "She's devastated. Cries all day. Won't eat. Morning sickness will do that." "Grace, please. She's your sister." I corrected. She was my sister. Now she's just the woman who slept with my husband. She made a mistake. Stop calling it that. I slammed my hand on the table, making her jump. A mistake is accidental. What they did was deliberate. Calculated. Multiple times. She loves him, my mother said quietly. And he loves her. I stared at her. Is that supposed to make it better? That they fell in love while betraying me? No, but nothing. Love isn't an excuse. It's not a free pass to hurt people. What about forgiveness? What about loyalty? I countered. What about trust? What about basic fucking decency? An elderly couple at the next table looked over disapprovingly. I didn't care. "I raised you girls better than this," my mother said, tears in her eyes. "Did you?" "Because one of us turned out to be a homewrecker and the other turned out to be a fool who didn't see it coming." "You're not a fool." "No? Then what do you call someone who helps plan her sister's wedding while she's sleeping with her husband?" My mother reached across the table, trying to take my hand. I pulled away. "Grace, holding on to this anger will only hurt you." "Wrong. It's keeping me sane. It's keeping me strong. And it's keeping me from making the same mistake twice." "Which is?" "Trusting the wrong people." She flinched. "You can't go through life not trusting anyone. Watch me." We sat in silence, the coffee growing cold between us. "The baby," she said finally. "What about the baby?" "What about it? It's innocent in all this." So was I. "Grace. If it's Darren's, he can pay child support. If it's James's, that's between him and Linda. Either way, it's not my problem. It's your family." "I don't have a family anymore," I said, standing up. "I have parents who enable their youngest daughter's destructive behavior and a sister who takes whatever she wants. That's not family. That's just people I'm unfortunately related to." I left her crying at the table. It should have made me feel guilty. It didn't. The divorce lawyer's name was Sandra Lee, and she was exactly what I needed: ruthless, efficient, and expensive. "Adultery is grounds for fault divorce in this state," she explained, reviewing the evidence I'd brought. "With this documentation, we can make a strong case." "I want everything," I said. "The house, the cars, half his retirement." "That's aggressive." "He was aggressive when he slept with my sister." "I'm just responding in kind." Sandra smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. I liked her immediately. "There's also the matter of his suspension from work," she noted. "If he's terminated, it could affect his ability to pay. Then we'd better move fast." My thoughts exactly. We spent 3 hours strategizing. By the end, Darren would be lucky to keep the clothes on his back. "What about your sister?" Sandra asked as we wrapped up. "Any legal action there?" "Like what?" "Alienation of affection. It's still recognized in this state." I considered it. "Suing Linda for destroying my marriage." It had a certain poetic justice. "Maybe," I said. "Let me think about it." "Don't think too long. Statute of limitations and all that." I left her office feeling powerful. 4 months, I'd been the victim. Now I was the one in control. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Grace, it's James. Can we talk? I stared at the message for a long moment before responding. Corner cafe. 1 hour. James looked like I felt, hollowed out, exhausted, aged by betrayal. He stood when I approached, ever the gentleman even in disaster. Thank you for meeting me, he said. We're members of the same club now, I replied, sitting down. The Cheated on Spouses Club. Membership benefits include trust issues and the inability to sleep. He laughed bitterly. Don't forget the constant replaying of every moment, looking for signs you missed. Were there signs? He nodded slowly. Looking back? Yes. The way she'd light up when your name came up. How she always wanted to know if Darren would be at family events. I thought she was just trying to be close to your family. She got close all right. We ordered coffee, two broken people finding comfort in shared misery. The baby, he said finally. I don't know what to do about the baby. Do you want it to be yours? Yes. No. Both. He rubbed his face. If it's mine, how do I raise a child with someone I can't trust? If it's not, then you're free. Am I? Can you just walk away from someone you loved? Even after this? I thought about it. Yes. It's hard, but yes. The person I loved never existed. He was a character Darren played. The real Darren, the one who could do this? I don't love him at all. I keep thinking about the wedding night, James said. If you hadn't said anything, you'd be living a lie. Maybe. But I'd be happy. No, I said firmly. You'd be ignorant. That's not the same as happy. He stared into his coffee. She wants to work it out. Keeps calling, texting. Says it was just pre-wedding jitters that went too far. Do you believe that? I don't know what to believe anymore. Then believe the evidence. The photos. The timeline. The fact that she was willing to let you raise another man's child. We don't know. James. I reached across the table and touched his hand. You know. Deep down, you know. He started crying then, this successful, confident man reduced to tears in a coffee shop. I bought a crib, he whispered. The day after she told me. I was so happy. I squeezed his hand, saying nothing. Sometimes there were no words. What are you going to do? He asked when he'd composed himself. Divorce Darren. Take everything I can. Start over. And Linda? Linda doesn't exist for me anymore. Just like that? Just like that. He studied me with red-rimmed eyes. You're stronger than me. No, I said. I'm just angrier. 2 weeks after the wedding, Linda did something I didn't expect. She got a paternity test. My mother delivered the news, showing up at my door uninvited and unwelcome. She wants you to know she's doing the right thing, Mom said, standing on my porch because I wouldn't let her in. The right thing would have been not sleeping with my husband. She's getting the test, Grace. To know for sure. How responsible of her. The results will be back next week. I don't care. Yes, you do, my mother said quietly. You care so much it's eating you alive. What's eating me alive is betrayal. Not curiosity about my husband's bastard. She flinched at the harsh word. That's your niece or nephew you're talking about? No. It's Linda's baby. Nothing to do with me. Grace. I shut the door in her face. I was getting good at that. But she was right. I did care. I hated that I cared, but I needed to know. Needed that final piece of the puzzle. Darren had been served with divorce papers the week before. He'd tried to contest them, but Sandra was too good. The evidence was overwhelming. His lawyer, a junior associate from his former firm, the only one who would take his case, had advised him to settle. Just give her what she wants, I'd overheard him say during a phone call to Darren. I'd been at the bank, separating our accounts, when Darren called his lawyer in the parking lot. You're lucky she's not pressing criminal charges for the financial fraud. Financial fraud. Such a clinical term for stealing from his company to fund his affair. The test results would determine how much child support got factored into our divorce settlement. If the baby was his, he'd be paying for 18 years. Part of me hoped it was his. The vindictive part that wanted him to suffer. Part of me hoped it wasn't. The human part that didn't want an innocent child connected to this mess. All of me wished none of this had happened. The call came on a Tuesday. Not to me, I'd made it clear I wanted no contact. But news travels fast in small towns, especially scandalous news. I was at the grocery store when I overheard two women talking in the next aisle. Did you hear about the Patterson girl? The paternity test came back. No. Whose is it? The husband's. The sister's husband. Can you imagine? I abandoned my cart and left, driving home on autopilot. So. Darren was going to be a father after all. Just not with me. The house was quiet when I got home. I'd gotten used to the silence, but sometimes it still startled me. All those years of planning for children, and now Darren would have one. With her. I poured a glass of wine, it was 5 o'clock somewhere, and sat on the porch swing where Darren had proposed 9 years ago. Young, stupid kids who thought love conquered all. My phone rang. Sandra. I heard, she said without preamble. This actually works in our favor. Child support obligations will reduce his available assets, but it also strengthens the adultery claim. How much? Based on his income? Assuming he gets another job at his previous level? About $3,000 a month. For 18 years. Longer if the child goes to college. I did the math. Over $500,000. Plus whatever Linda would squeeze out of him along the way. Good, I said. You sound awfully calm. I knew it was his. The timing was too perfect for it not to be. Still. Confirmation hits different. Yes, it did. It hit like a sledgehammer to the chest. But I'd gotten good at not showing pain. What's next? I asked. We push for a quick settlement. He's got no leverage now. Between the affair, the fraud, and the baby, he'll give us anything to make this go away. Then let's end it. After I hung up, I sat on the swing until the sun set, remembering all the times we'd talked about children. How Darren wanted a boy to play catch with. How I wanted a girl to braid her hair. Now he'd have a child with my sister. And I'd have this empty house and the satisfaction of revenge. It didn't feel like enough anymore. Linda showed up a week later. I was in the garden, pulling weeds with perhaps more violence than necessary, when I heard her car in the driveway. I knew it was her, I recognized the engine. I didn't look up when she approached. Just kept ripping weeds from the earth. Grace. I said nothing. Please. I need to talk to you. No, you need to feel better about yourself. That's not my job anymore. I'm keeping the baby. Congratulations. It's Darren's. I know. He wants to be involved. How modern. She was quiet for a moment. I could feel her watching me, probably noting my unwashed hair and the dirt under my fingernails. The perfect sister finally falling apart. I'm sorry, she said finally. No, you're not. I am. I never meant. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry there were consequences. You're sorry your perfect wedding was ruined and your husband left and now you're going to be a single mother. But you're not sorry you did it. That's not true. Did you think about me at all? I finally looked up at her. She was wearing one of my old college sweatshirts, and the sight of it made me furious. When you were in bed with him, did you think about me even once? Her silence was answer enough. That's what I thought. I loved him, she whispered. So did I. No, I mean. I really loved him. 4 years. Before you even met him. I stared at her. What? I saw him first. At that bar in downtown. I was going to talk to him, but then you came back from the bathroom and he noticed you instead. And I let it happen. I introduced you. The world tilted. You're lying. I'm not. I've loved him since the beginning. Watched you date him, marry him, build a life with him. And I tried to be happy for you. I tried so hard. So you waited 8 years to make your move? I didn't plan it. But that night at the engagement party, we were talking and drinking and he said I looked beautiful and I'd waited so long. I was weak. Weak, I repeated. That's your excuse? You were weak? I don't have an excuse. I just wanted you to know it wasn't meaningless. It wasn't just sex. I love him. And he loves you? She looked away. He says he does. But he loves you more. He wants to work things out with you. Too bad. That ship has sailed and sunk. Grace, please. If you won't forgive me, at least forgive him. You two were so good together. Were we? Were we really? Because a man who was so good with me wouldn't have slept with my sister. Twice. It was more than twice, she said quietly. I closed my eyes. How many times? I don't know. A dozen? More? It went on for 2 months before the wedding. 2 months. 2 months of lies and betrayal and family dinners where they sat across from each other, playing innocent. Get out, I said. Grace. Get out. She fled, leaving me alone in my destroyed garden. I'd pulled up flowers along with the weeds, too angry to be careful. It seemed fitting. The divorce was finalized on a rainy Monday in October. Darren didn't contest anything in the end. I got the house, my car, half his retirement, and a hefty settlement from our joint savings. He got his personal belongings, his car, and a lifetime of child support payments. We didn't speak during the proceedings. Our lawyers handled everything while we sat at opposite ends of the conference table, two strangers who used to share everything. Is there anything you'd like to say to each other before we conclude? The judge asked. Darren looked at me with those green eyes that used to make me melt. Now they just looked tired. I'm sorry, he said. For everything. You deserved better. Yes, I agreed. I did. And that was it. 8 years of marriage dissolved in 20 minutes. Sandra walked me to my car afterward, umbrella held high against the rain. How do you feel? She asked. Free, I said, and meant it. What's next? I don't know. Travel maybe. Or go back to school. Something new. Good for you. You deserve a fresh start. I drove home, my home now, not ours, and walked through the empty rooms. I'd redecorated everything, painted the walls new colors, bought new furniture. It looked nothing like the house we'd shared. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Linda had the baby. A boy. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Both healthy. I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it. Then I blocked her number. Spring came early that year, crocuses pushing through the last of the snow in February. I was in the garden, my therapy, my salvation, when I heard a car in the driveway. I didn't recognize the vehicle, but I recognized the man who got out. James looked good. Healthier than when I'd last seen him. He'd grown a beard that suited him, and his smile seemed genuine when he saw me. Grace. You look well. Gardening agrees with me, I said, pulling off my gloves. What brings you by? I wanted to thank you. For telling the truth at the wedding. It hurt like hell, but you saved me from a worse fate. Living a lie? Exactly. He paused. I heard about the baby. Did you? Darren's been posting pictures on Facebook. Proud papa. How nice for him. You haven't seen them? I blocked everyone involved. Easier that way. He nodded. I did the same. Started fresh. New job, new city. I'm only back to finalize the sale of the house. You're selling? Too many memories. You understand. I did. We talked for a while about safe things, real estate, jobs, the weather. Then he said something that surprised me. I'm seeing someone. Oh? A teacher. Met her at a coffee shop in my new town. She doesn't know the whole story. Just that I'm divorced. That's probably wise. Is it? Starting something new with half-truths? It's not a lie. You are divorced. The details are your business. He considered this. Maybe you're right. I usually am. Just ask my ex-husband. We both laughed, dark humor bonding us. What about you? He asked. Anyone new? No. I'm enjoying being alone. Figuring out who I am without them. And who are you? I thought about it. Someone stronger than I knew. Someone who values truth over comfort. Someone who's learning to be happy alone. That's a lot of growth for 6 months. It's been an educational time. He stood to leave, then turned back. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you regret it? Telling the truth at the wedding? No, I said without hesitation. I regret having to. I regret that they put me in that position. But telling the truth? Never. Even though it cost you everything? It cost me illusions. That's not the same as everything. He smiled sadly. I hope I can see it that way someday. You will. Give it time. After he left, I returned to my garden. The roses I'd planted were beginning to bud, new life from bare earth. Starting over wasn't easy. But it was possible. A year after the wedding, a letter arrived. I recognized Darren's handwriting immediately. Part of me wanted to throw it away unopened, but curiosity won. Grace. I know I have no right to contact you. I know you blocked all other forms of communication. But I needed to say some things, and I hope you'll let me. You were right about everything. I was a coward, a liar, and a fool. I destroyed the best thing in my life for something that was never real. Linda and I aren't together. We tried, for the baby's sake, but it was a disaster. Turns out a relationship built on betrayal doesn't have a strong foundation. Who knew? I see my son, yes, he's definitely mine, those green eyes are unmistakable, every other weekend. His name is Michael. He's beautiful and perfect, and every time I look at him, I'm reminded of what I lost. The family we should have had. The life we planned. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know that's impossible. I just wanted you to know that I understand now. I understand what I threw away. I understand the depth of the hurt I caused. I understand that some mistakes can't be undone. I hope you're happy. I hope you found peace. I hope you found someone who deserves you, because I never did. The house looks beautiful, by the way. I drove by last week, not stalking, just passing through, and saw your garden. You always did have a gift for making things grow. I won't contact you again. This is goodbye, the goodbye I should have had the courage to say properly. You deserved so much better than what I gave you. You deserved truth and loyalty and a love that put you first. I'm sorry I couldn't be that man. Darren. P.S. Linda asked me to tell you she's sorry. She's in therapy now, trying to understand why she does the things she does. I think losing you broke something in her. Losing you broke something in both of us. I read the letter 3 times, then took it to the fireplace. Watched the paper curl and blacken, his words turning to ash and floating up the chimney. It didn't bring the satisfaction I'd expected. Or the pain. It was just, nothing. Words from a stranger about people I used to know. My phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. Hello? Grace? This is Sandra. I have an interesting proposition for you. Oh? I have a client going through something similar to what you experienced. Infidelity, family betrayal, the works. She could use someone who's been through it. Would you consider meeting with her? Unofficially, of course. I thought about it. All the dark nights I'd wished for someone who understood. All the rage with nowhere to go. Yes, I said. I'll meet with her. Wonderful. I'll set it up. After we hung up, I looked around my rebuilt life. The house that was mine alone. The garden blooming with new life. The peace I'd found in solitude. Maybe this was how I moved forward. Not by forgetting, but by helping others through their own betrayals. Turning my pain into purpose. It wasn't the life I'd planned. But it was mine, built on truth instead of lies. And that was enough. The support group meets every Tuesday in the basement of St. Mark's Church. Healing After Betrayal, we call it. I've been leading it for 3 years now. Tonight, there's a new face. A woman in her 30s, wedding ring still on her finger, eyes red from crying. She reminds me of myself 5 years ago. Would you like to share? I ask gently. My husband, she starts, then stops. Takes a breath. My husband and my best friend. I caught them last week. They say it just happened, but you know better, another member finishes. It never just happens. The woman nods, tears flowing. 20 years of friendship. 12 years of marriage. How do I move past this? You don't move past it, I say. You move through it. There's a difference. I tell them my story sometimes, when it helps. The wedding, the revelation, the aftermath. How I burned it all down and built something new from the ashes. How revenge felt good in the moment but healing felt better in the long run. Did you ever forgive them? The new woman asks. No, I answer honestly. But I forgave myself. For not seeing it sooner. For trusting the wrong people. For thinking love meant never having to protect yourself. After the meeting, I drive home through familiar streets. Past the church where Linda got married. Past the hotel where she conceived her son. Past the life I used to have. My phone buzzes at a red light. A text from my mother. We've slowly rebuilt our relationship, though it will never be what it was. Michael's birthday party is Saturday. I know you won't come, but I wanted you to know you're welcome. I delete the message without responding. Some bridges are meant to stay burned. At home, there's a bouquet of flowers on my porch. No card, but I know who they're from. James sends them every year on the anniversary of the wedding. His way of saying thank you, I think. Or sorry. Or both. I bring them inside and put them in water. My cat, a cranky tabby named Truth, whines around my legs. Just you and me again tonight, I tell her. She purrs, unconcerned with my human dramas. I make dinner for one, pour a glass of wine, and sit on my porch swing to watch the sunset. The house is paid off now, thanks to the divorce settlement. My garden is the envy of the neighborhood. My life is quiet and peaceful and entirely my own. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd kept quiet at the wedding. If I'd let Linda and James have their happiness built on lies. If I'd confronted Darren privately and tried to save our marriage. But those are just what-ifs, and I deal in truth now. The truth is, they showed me who they really were. The truth is, I survived it. The truth is, I'm happier now than I ever was pretending everything was perfect. My name is Grace, and this is my story. Not a story of happily ever after, but of after. Just after. And sometimes, that's enough. Sometimes, that's everything.